Hello, how are y'all doing today?
Fine, Alyssa. How are you doing?
Good, I'm doing good. That's great to hear. I'm so happy that y'all have decided to join me today. I'm super excited to be asking y'all these questions. The first question is for Pastor James. What was your thought process when the Lord led you to start this outreach ministry here in Webster?
The thought process was I just wanted to start an outreach. We were members of a church in Alvin that my dad was pastor for 30 years. Of course, he had already passed away about a year before we started over here this outreach. But my intentions were just for it to be an outreach. I had no idea that the Lord never told me it was going to be a church. I thought it was just going to be an outreach, just to, win people to the Lord, just get involved in reaching people for the Lord. That's all my intentions were.
I didn't want to come. When he told me that we were going to start coming on Thursday nights, I put up a fight. I was so comfortable at our mother church. We were active there, and the girls were active. And so when he told me about coming and having a Bible study, I just thought it was going to be too much. But then eventually, I said, okay, we'll try it. So we're still trying it 30 years later.
Pastor Mary Alice, what went through your mind when Pastor Jaime told you he was going to start this ministry in Webster?
No, I wasn't in favor of it. It took a while for it to really, for him to convince me, because I wasn't in favor of it, but he was. He wanted to come over here. And then once God started dealing with me about, go ahead and come, it's me doing this, I got so excited. And then I started falling in love with the people. And so when I went back and told him, okay, I'm ready for all this, he wasn't ready then. So, but God dealt with me, and it was a hard process at the beginning. There were so many things that I knew were going to change. Being pastors, being in charge of people is a big responsibility. So it took a while for me to really be convinced that this is what God wanted us to do.
How difficult was it to leave your family's church to begin your own ministry?
Very difficult. At first, it felt like a betrayal, that I was betraying my family. They really counted on me. I was helping a lot. I was involved in so many ministries there, and I felt guilty, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I felt that tug that God had something for me here. So, as I told you, my intentions were to help the church where we were at and make it grow. But God had other ideas that God had not revealed to me that it was going to be a church. I thought it was just going to be just an outreach. That's all it was. So it was a struggle for me to come over here to decide to come over here full time and leave my mother church. It was very hard for me.
In your opinion, what are the top 3 moments you have each experienced here at Oasis?
In no particular order, but I think when we became established as a church in 1992, even though we started to work in 1990, but then 2 years later they received me as a pastor. I wasn't a pastor, but they received me as a pastor, and I got my license to be able to marry and to do all the sacraments. And that was one of the highlights when we officially became a church. The second thing, I think, a milestone in our history was when we bought these 6 lots where the church sits now. It took us a leap of faith, and I was scared to death. They wanted $57,000 for the 6 lots. I said, no.
We had $1,500 in savings.
$1,500 in savings, and it's, Lord, so it just took a step of faith, and we just got the loan for us to be able to purchase this, and we purchased it. I was scared half to death, but that was a milestone when we finally had our own property, and very soon after that we started our sanctuary. So that was a milestone. And The third thing that I think has been very significant in the history of our church, I think, we're growing more and more, and as you know, we got 3 daughters, and 2 of our daughters lived in Austin, and 1 lived here. She led praise and worship, Terry. Lo and behold, I get a phone call from my youngest daughter, Maritza, that they felt of the Lord, her and Miguel, her husband, to come move over here and help us in this church. That was music to my ears. I couldn't believe that they were doing this, that they were willing to leave their large mega church that they were a part of in Austin to come to our church, Hispanic church over here. And I think that's a big milestone because Miguel has really stretched me. He's been an awesome asset to our church. And Maritza, everybody knows Maritza. She's just special with the children, with the youth. And I think that's been a very significant milestone in the history of our church. I believe things started going uphill as soon as we brought them on board. And I appreciate Miguel so much, and Marissa, of course, and Terry. She's the one that told me, you need to consider bringing them on. You need to consider, and Terry had more faith than I did, and I didn't think it was possible. But I think, thank God that they're here.
For me, what's very memorable for me is when we first started, it was just women. The husbands didn't come around, and a lot of children. And for me, it's so special to see these kids grow into teenagers and then young adults, and now they're forming their own families. They have their children. We presented their children, and some of them we even presented them, and now we're presenting their kids. And for me, that's something so special. That says a lot that they're still here with us. Some of them have gone and they've come back. And for me, that's just so special. Like I think about Elisa Ponce and Jessica Mendoza. I mean, I saw those girls as little kids, little girls. They were in girls' ministry and everything, Vacation Bible schools, and now they've got their own family. Jessica has her children. Soon Elisa will have her own children also. And for me, that's very special, very special. And just the fact that so many people that started with us are still here. I think it was Michael, he was going through some old pictures at the house the other day, and he says, man, these people are still there at the church. And I said, yeah, they're still there. And that's just something that I really appreciate a lot, that I have been able to see them grow, these kids grow up, and now their parents, they're just starting their own families. And for me, that's so it makes me so happy to know that we've been able to impact their lives, and they've been a part of our lives, and we're a part of their lives.
That's really great to hear. And last but not least, I'm going to ask y'all, where do you hope to see Oasis in another 30 years?
Well, another 30 years, I don't know, we're going to be around. Probably not. But I hope that our church can be so powerful and so great that we can perhaps plant other satellite churches and let it be like whether it be campus churches, satellite churches, where we can invest in our leaders and help them get a new work started. It's all for the growth of the kingdom. I believe that God has called me to invest in this church, whether we're the pastors or not. Even if we're not pastors, we're going to support this church 100% always. And I want to see this church in 30 years, my children still involved, my grandkids still involved, and hopefully they'll be in leadership and pour into the leaders of the church and people pour into their lives so that they can become leaders. That's where I hope that Oasis can become just a model church, what other churches can do when they put their trust on the Lord. I believe God can bless their churches also. Amen.
I would like to see and know that that we raised up good leaders and good mature Christians. That even though we might not be pastors any longer, but for people to be serving God, because they're not serving us as the pastors, they're serving God. So one of the things that I would like to know is that once we retire or whatever, to know that we did a good job of raising up good leadership, mature Christians, and that they would continue, that Oasis would be known, like he said, that Oasis would be known as the church that they've got good leadership, they've got good members. And I think that is so important for us. I know that as a pastor, that's what you desire. You want growth, but you want mature Christians also. You want the people to be firm in the word. Whatever comes, whatever happens in their life, they're still serving God. And that's what I would like to know, that 30 years down the road, the people that are here today are still serving, that they're still serving God.
Amen. Well, that was it for today. Thank y'all so much for answering these questions, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.